Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to happiness. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Albert Schweitzer. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Podnuts Pro. I am your host, Marvin B. Podnuts Pro is your podcast for IT business support, and we provide you with product stories and tips to help you run your business better, smarter, and faster. And tonight is absolutely no exception. Tonight is the first in a series of No Marketing Marv Presents. And my first guest is somebody that if you have been in the channel over the last several years, you have seen her out and about. She has done great things. I am talking about Jennifer Fields from Astek Marketing Group. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Let's get the weather check out of the way. How cold is it up where you are right now?
You know what? Actually, today was beautiful. I think it was about 48 degrees. So it was very nice. Barely needed a coat.
40, barely needed a coat. Yeah. Okay. So today, or at least right now, it is 76 degrees. And that was pretty good. We had a high of, I think it was 84.
Oh, nice.
And I used to say I never need a coat, but I actually have worn one down here in the past.
Oh, all right. Well,
Quite.
I wear one regularly, so.
Yeah. For those that do not know, Jennifer is up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And did I ask you before how far you were from Green Bay?
I'm a few hours from Green Bay, but I'm directly in between Chicago and Milwaukee.
Okay.
All right. We're Kenosha. Everybody knows Kenosha now.
Yeah, Kenosha has been in the news.
Yes, we have. Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to say about that? You want to comment?
Nope. I want to stay out of the news for now.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about, let me see. I don't really have too much in the way of announcements because I want to get to our topic here, but I do want to say to everybody, if you are watching live, you will be able to see Jennifer and I as we banter back and forth, and Jennifer will be staying through the podcast for the post show. So if you are joining us live and you want to stay and ask questions that we do not address during the show, feel free to do so. If you are listening by audio, you should tune in when you get a chance. We are here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And for all the information, just head over to podnutspro.com. And you may want to think about subscribing to us on either YouTube or the Facebook. I have pages on both, Podnuts Pro at YouTube and Podnuts Pro on the Facebook. Anytime I've got a show that goes live, we put out the announcements there. You just click on the reminder and you'll be directed to the pages, or you can just tune into podnutspro.com/live and you'll see what shows we have there. But you can also go to podnutspro.com to listen to any of the back episodes. I'm thinking of doing some blogging if I can find the time to do that. That way I can do some other announcements and put some downloads and giveaways and all that sort of stuff, but we'll see. I got to figure out how this marketing thing works. So that's what we'll figure out.
I'll help you.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Because one of the things that I think is always a topic in the MSP space or even the IT channel space is what really is marketing, because everybody has their own definition. And even though I say that I am no marketing Marv, I mean, I do market.
Right.
You know, I make sure that my brand is always out there, so much to the point where customers have asked me, do you have any shirts without your logo on them?
You shouldn't.
But let's talk about marketing in general, and then we can talk specifically what you can help bring to the table for us.
Okay. Specifically, marketing generates leads. So it brings prospects to you. It's the bridge between you and your prospect, basically. It's not the same as branding. Branding brings you top of mind. It tells your story. There's a lot of different things branding does. There's great value in branding, but the return on branding is not the same as the return on actual marketing. Any marketing strategy designed specifically to sell your service.
Okay. So all the stuff that I do, such as give my customers mugs at the end of the year, brand my shirts. I actually branded my COVID mask
Nice,
today.
nice.
Uh,
Yep.
so that's not really marketing.
It's branding, which is a branch of marketing, maybe.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's there. I mean, you will see returns from that. Somebody will be looking at your coffee cup one day when they actually need what it is you provide.
Had that happen the other day where I was at an office and a lady was making a comment. She's like, I got to take my cup home. And I'm looking at it, and she was relatively new to the firm. And I said, that's my cup. Like, no, it's not. And I said, look at the side of the cup and look at my shirt. She was like, oh, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
The biggest difference is it's not predictable or measurable. You can't predict when somebody's going to look at your cup and see it.
Right.
Whereas direct marketing, direct response, all of that things, you can predict and measure exactly when your returns are going to come.
Okay. Now, the other side to that, I guess, is that sometimes I hear people say that, well, you may not need a marketing person, you need a salesperson.
Right.
And obviously, sales is different than marketing.
Completely.
A lot of people think that they can be one and the same. Your marketing person can sell and your salesperson can market.
Right. And your housekeeper can clean your house and cook you dinner, but a chef's going to do a better job cooking you dinner. It's very similar. Marketing feeds sales. So if you have a good closer on your team and you're paying dearly, because we all know closers are expensive, you don't want them out pounding the streets looking for their next person to talk to. You hire a marketing company to bring those people to him, so he is in front of people who are ready to listen. So he can close more often instead of marketing. Very different. Marketing is bringing them in. Sales is closing them down. Bring them into the.
All right. So, of course, bringing them in, which comes to the concept of leads.
Yep.
And everybody talks about you got to have leads, you got to have a funnel, you got to have, all of this stuff. So let's talk about marketing from that standpoint. So if the goal is to get them in,
yeah,
what is basically, I guess, the strategy behind marketing, and what types of things can you do?
Well, the strategy comes from where you're at, where do you want to be, and setting goals to reach that thing. That's creating that strategy is exactly that. What are the different things you can do? I used to always say you had to have many funnels, but now ClickFunnels is the buzzword out there, and I'm never referring to ClickFunnels. They're fine. I don't disagree with them. I don't have anything negative. It's just not what I mean. So I'll just call them different oil wells or whatever. You have to have different avenues to generate these leads, because if you put all of your eggs in one basket, clearly you can, something can dry up, things can happen. There's so many different ways you can. I mean, of course, today the big buzzword other than ClickFunnels is SEO, AdWords, Google AdWords, SEO, organic and paid for. all of those things, and they all have value, and I use 90% of all of them. I use traditional marketing. I use the newer marketing. The traditional marketing that, the tried and true, you pretty much know exactly what your return is. There is industry standards for, direct mail, telemarketing, uh, uh, monthly newsletters. Who's seeing it and what the response rate is going to be. There's industry standards. There's data on that across the board. The newer stuff like this social media, there are things if any of you read your analytics, the impressions, how many impressions did you get? I know that's a key word for a lot of people. I don't even look at the impressions. To me, the impressions number frustrates me more than anything, because it's always this big, huge, impressive number. So if somebody's doing your SEO and they said, oh, you had 42,000 people, 42,000 impressions, but you only had 427 calls. Well, where the hell is the other 41,000 people? You know what I mean? So I hate the impressions number. All that means is there are 43,000 people possibly looking for what you do, not necessarily exactly what you do, whatever. So I avoid that term at all costs. But I do SEO religiously. I mean, that's important. Combining each one of the options out there, I think, is important, including branding is one of the things, because that's, your branding is when their hair is on fire or the need does arise, it's typically something that you've branded that they find your website on or your phone number.
Okay. Now, is website, because we've done websites for so long, is that a part of traditional, or is it all digital now? I mean, how does the overlap happen?
So your website, I come from the Robin School of Marketing. I was in her community for a very, very long time. Still part of the community. But your website is your master sales letter. That is almost everyone who you will interact with has gone to your website. If they call you, they got your number typically from your website or whatever. So, I mean, in a sense, it's traditional because it's been around for a while, but all of the aspects of it are the newer SEO, the organic. Your content is all rated and packed full of buzzwords and AdWords and things of that nature. So, I mean, I guess it borders both, but it's definitely more of the modern.
Okay.
Stuff.
All right. So how much of traditional is actually still happening outside of what we can see on a regular basis? I mean, commercials obviously are still both on TV and the radio.
Right.
Believe it or not, there are still newspapers.
Yep.
There are still paper magazines, and companies are still advertising in those. So how much of advertising is traditional versus digital now?
For me, and in the strategies that I typically provide for my clients, it's a very large part. I would say it's 50-50. I use traditional and modern. You can't get away from the modern. You have to have your website. It has to be optimized. And you have to drive traffic there. So, Google AdWords, all of that is a must. But there are other ways to do that with traditional marketing. Direct mail pieces are still great. When you're marketing business to business, and you have to be good to get through to the decision maker if you're going to send them a package or something. So you always make it lumpy or something to catch their eye. And then following that up with telemarketing boosts your appointment set rate by 75%. So that's severely traditional, both direct mail and telemarketing, but they both still work. We see great responses with that every single day. Print, radio, anything that's in print is also online. Your local paper is on, you can get the online subscription, so even though print papers are fading away, if you pay for a banner or an advertisement in a paper, it's still on the online version as well. It's just on the side or it looks a little different. I don't do much of that just because there's little return there. You're not targeting anybody. Everybody sees that, not your targeted audience. but it's still viable. Trade shows, they're still happening and viable too. Canvassing is very old school. We don't see a lot of that anymore, but it is very, when you have narrowed your niche and you know your audience and you canvas them specifically, it still shows great return. So.
All right. Now I want to go back. You mentioned a term that I think is kind of interesting. You said the word lumpy.
Oh, lumpy. that again, and I apologize. That's another Robin Robbins term.
Okay.
She creates mailers and such, but she puts things in it, like to catch their attention, whether it's aspirin, and you say, is your current IT guy causing you to need one of these? I have one right here because I just did this campaign the other day, and it's a Bear aspirin. Things that are a traditional letter in a number 10 envelope is not going to get through. They're going to, the gatekeeper's going to open it. They're going to see that it's a sales piece, and they're going to put it wherever they put sales stuff.
So lumpy is something that it's not going to be flat like everything else. It's going to be just different enough that people have to say, what's in this?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So let me do this. I'm going to go off tangent here real quick,
okay.
because I didn't do like the traditional rundown of, all of your history and stats and all that stuff. So we're talking specifically the IT channel.
Yep.
But your company doesn't do just IT, and you haven't always been in the channel as we know it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So let's go back and just take a step back real quick. Even though you mentioned Robin Robbins, I want to get, you before.
Okay.
And we'll talk about Robin Robbins and how you got to where you are now. So.
Okay. So, I mean, my history, I started out very young in finance, and I worked at a local bank and worked my way up from actually teller to managing the home office in that bank. And that was my focus through my 20s. And in my 30s, I started in mortgages as growth from there and I had mortgage brokerage companies that we worked directly with, bridging the lenders to the home buyers. And so right up until about 2000, the crash happened in 2007. I stayed in until about 2008, 2009, when it really got bumpy.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, focused on my family, was doing, working with, at the time, my husband in his company. And then back in 2011, 12, I'm not sure the dates, I got in with a local MSP here in Kenosha, and he happened to be a friend of mine, and I started working with him, was doing his marketing, and was brought into one of the Robin Robbins shows, and that's how that Pandora's box got opened. And that was it.
We got you. It's what happened, right?
Yep. And so I just started developing the strategies, and genuinely, initially, my primary focus was actually implementing, just getting it done. And we still do that now for our clients. We, do it to the end. Within a lot of MSPs, with whether they have marketing people or not, getting it done is one of the most overwhelming tasks with marketing. Everybody has great ideas. There's tons of things out there you can do, both traditional and modern, but actually following through and getting it done. If you're going to do traditional direct mail, somebody filling out the letters and sending them, or even if it's social media, actually somebody consistently making the posts. And we all know with marketing, it comes down to the consistency. So we started offering actually getting it done, the complete implementation of it all. And that's really that, and the strategy and consulting is really where we took off, and that's how I came out into the IT channel.
All right. So what percentage of your business do you think is IT versus some of the other industries?
Oh, it's primarily IT. In fact, up until 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, it was exclusively IT.
Mm.
So there were still 85% IT only.
All right. Now you talk about getting it done, and we're talking about companies hiring Astek Marketing Group.
hmm
And when they hire you, what do they actually get?
So it really depends on where they're at. So, are they a newer company? Are they more established? Is their marketing, did they just lose their marketing person? Do they have marketing staff? We offer packages of varying levels. So if they have nothing and we come in, we provide complete strategy, consulting on every angle, because really, if you're going to start marketing and you have a good marketing strategy, your sales processes have to be in line and have to be ready to take that influx of leads and conversions. And then so your operations department has to be prepared. So when they hire us, we do everything from consulting and strategy to implementation, content creation, um, follow-up calls. We have a call center, and so we do follow-up calls after we send out pieces, whether it's digital or physical mail. We follow up with a phone call, speaking directly to the decision makers, and so they get all of that, and then final reporting at the end.
Okay. So I'm going to ask some weird questions only because now I've heard of Robin Robbins.
Yeah.
Never been to a conference, never watched the thing. And I know of others in the channel, some of which will be on the podcast at a later date. But I'm going to ask everybody the similar questions as to, how sticky are the things that you guys do? Because I hear from time to time where everybody puts together a plan and then they all get left to do it themselves. And it sounds like you actually go a step further in making sure it happens, especially when it comes to follow-up phone calls, et cetera, right?
Right. So how sticky is what we do? What, like our services?
Yeah, I mean, are they going to call you? You'll put together a plan, and then they don't hear from you in a month, or is it something where you work together through all phases of the plan? And when you talk about reports,
Yep.
now, are we talking where they can just see a spreadsheet of, well, here's the number of calls we did, and blah blah blah?
Yep. So no, with me specifically, with our clients, what we do is when you become a contract client. Now we do one-offs for clients. It's where they're like, what, we have this event coming up, and I want you to do this piece of it. And then of course for that, there's not continuous sticky aspects to it. Of course, my marketing comes behind it and tries to make it sticky, but for them specific, it's not. Contract clients, though, we immediately set up biweekly strategy calls. We have a standing biweekly call for the life of our relationship, whether we have a lot to talk about or not. Because once we get things rolling, they know what's happening as much as I do. I share an online file with them, with their complete file, so they see it. So say we do a bulky mailer or a lumpy mailer, something to that effect. Because we are remote and you're not working there, you've hired us to do a job, but you don't, we're not in the next office next to you. You don't get to see it. So what we do in ours, we take pictures of everything we do, physical pictures, put them online. You actually see the letters, you see them stamped, you see exactly the collateral you've paid for. And that is simply, there's no reason for that other than a comfort level, providing them knowing, okay, at least this is getting done.
Right. Okay.
So that they know when you work remote and they don't see you, that, sometimes people start wondering, well, what's going on? What's happening? I know full well the process, and you're not going to hear from me for, you don't need to hear from me for another 3 weeks because there's nothing I need from you until then. But we have just set up these specifics so that there is interaction. whether there needs to be or not. You see the progress, you see the pictures. We create a calendar view on their file that shows every single day what tasks are being done on their file. So if your tech tips are going out, they're going out on every other Tuesday, or however, whenever they're scheduled for, you see that. You'll receive one and oh, okay, they are doing what they're supposed to. We have several pieces like that keeps them involved and knowing. We have a lot of what we do is automated and online. So unless you are looking, you don't know. So what we've done to create just a stronger comfort level for them, knowing that, okay, the work that they're paying for is getting done. And then, of course, once the results start coming in, they don't care what work is getting done. They just like the results.
Right.
Which is a key thing to, I don't know that we mentioned this yet or not, but setting expectations for your marketing and realistic expectations. Everybody wants returns and they want them right now. And honestly, with marketing, if you're starting from scratch, you're 4 to 6 months is when you start seeing results. 6 to 12 months is when you can start measuring what these results are and what they're going to be. And then right at 1 year for the next year is when you can predict and determine exactly how, what you're going to see. And you can either up your limits, you know what I mean? So you can double that, but at that point, all of the data is collected, what each lead is costing you, what's working. But setting expectations is super key. It does take those initial, you're always going to have some responses and hopefully new conversions in the first month, but you might not, you know what I mean? Like it might take 3 months for you to get that first conversion. But once you do, and your cycle is going and you're now retouching the same people you touched at the beginning, then you start seeing the results.
All right. Like I said, I just wanted to ask that because I hear the stories out there in the industry and I hear people talking about, every time I tried to check in, I got nothing, or I couldn't see what was going on. And the fact that you mentioned that, you actually take pictures of the letters and the things being stamped and stuff like that, I think that at least shows that there's effort being made.
Right.
Of course, nothing may come of it, but I don't want to say that's the risk you take. That's just the nature of life.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's why you have several aspects going. That's why you have your direct mail and you have your trade show or your press releases and your website and your ads on Google. You know what I mean? You have many different things that you see. And typically those things you see receipts for, or you see the analytics for. So the pictures and stuff is just so you see what's going on in that arena as well.
Okay. All right. So folks, if you are just joining us, we are talking with Jennifer Fields from Astek Marketing Group, and we are talking about all things marketing, helping me, No Marketing Marv, understand, and hopefully you out there as well. So we talked a little bit earlier about the different types, of marketing things, traditional, digital. You mentioned SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Content marketing seems to be a big thing right now, outside of ClickFunnels. But,
right.
Sometimes it almost seems as though it's just simply making a post on Facebook, no matter what it is, or doing something on the gram or on Twitter. But do those things, I don't want to ask if they work because obviously somebody's doing them right so that they are, but how should we be using something like content marketing?
So really on your website specifically, as far as SEO and that goes, as far as ads like you're talking about on Facebook, depending on how well you're planning those ads, the back end, you're choosing your audience and the content and what you're doing it, your hook or your title, the primary content of your ad. all of those factors matter as to whether they work. To say Facebook ads don't work is silly because clearly they work. To say all of them work is a lie because they don't all work. I mean, I've done ones that don't work, and I've done ones that have been hugely successful. So, I mean, it's really tweaking it, the beauty of it. And if you are interested in doing it, you can start small and gauge on a smaller level what your return can be. One thing is really hitting that sweet spot as far as your hook, whether it's your offer or your headline, getting that right. And so the dollar amount that you can start with is so nominal. You can do $20 ads, you know what I mean? That if they flop, who cares? And versus going right in at 2,000, 3,000, you don't need to do that. Start low, figure it out if you're doing it yourself. There are clearly tried and true ones that people use that you can mimic to a degree. So I mean, are they worth doing? That was the question. Yeah, they're worth doing. What should you be doing with them? You should be trying them. You can do posts for free and then boost them if you want, if you get a good response. Depending on your organic Facebook audience, who you friended and who has liked or whatever your page, that's who your audience is when you do it that way. With that, for the free way. But doing it as a paid or a boost, I mean, it's definitely worth trying. You should be spending time and effort and money on your own content and SEO on your website. The Google algorithms and things of that nature, there's so much that goes into that algorithm, that so many things that you can personally do as far as your content, hitting your words, the back end of your website. You're all IT and technical and all that, so you know how to get into and work on the back end of your site as far as metadata. And
Oh no, I don't. I have a web girl for that.
there you go. So, but a lot of them do. So if you want, things that you can do on your own, that's it. Otherwise, hire me or someone like me that can do it for you. And you do see results there. I mean, as long as you are working to drive traffic to your website, it's worth it to have your website up and killer.
Okay. Now, one thing you probably aren't prepared for this either. So
great.
So one of the things I see is people complaining a lot of times that they're doing these ads and they're not getting engagement, but other people call them out and say, well, you're doing ads to all your friends and to other IT people. So, we're not going to click on your stuff. So how do you help people get out of that tunnel vision and realize that they've got to find a way to reach other people, not just their friends on Facebook or something like that?
Okay, so that's the difference, if I'm hearing you right. So if you post something on your page, so your post, the people who see your post are the people who have liked your page, or they're your friends or other IT guys. Like mine is stacked full with all IT people.
Mm-hmm.
So I post on mine, and that's my target audience. But if you're doing that, that's not your target audience. But if you do a Facebook ad, which is completely different than a post. So a Facebook ad, you have the opportunity to choose your audience.
Okay.
And so, I mean, every demographic, I mean, you can get as granular as male, female, age, all of that, or you can go more broad as to industry, level, like CEOs and higher, that type of thing. All of that data is in Facebook. And they do allow you to in that's a paid service though. That's a paid ad. It's
Okay.
not a post. So if they're posting to their friends, I mean, if they're saying it's going to their friends and stuff, that's because they're doing a free post. When you start in the paid ads, which you can start as low as $20, In the paid ads, you choose your audience and where you want them to go.
All right. So that makes more sense because I do know, people that they want to do the freeway, and, which is why I would never look to that, because I don't want to post to other IT people. I don't want to post to my friends. I don't want friends and family calling me for business because I
Nope.
don't do residential.
Right.
So, all
Right.
right. So let's shift a little bit because I want to
Okay.
make sure we try to get everything in that we have bullet pointed at least. So we
Yeah.
talked about budget. We talked about there are things you can do very minimal when it comes to the content marketing. But in terms of helping somebody decide, somebody say an MSP that's, say they're somewhere between 2 and 300,000 now, they're just growing, and they say, I want to get to $1 million by 2022 or whatever. How do you sit with somebody like that and help them decide what their marketing budget should be and how they should utilize that?
It's very touchy.
Hmm.
And I mean, I can give you industry standard specifics, for a new company or a newer company, a less mature company, say someone down in the 200,000 level, or brand new. You're looking at literally 12 to 20% is what your marketing budget should be. And
Is that of your sales or expenses, or what's
your gross revenue.
okay?
So, which is it's very overwhelming at first, but that is what you're trying to double. If you're at 200,000 and you want to get to $1 million, you're trying to quadruple your business. So, it's not going to happen for free. It's not going to, it has to be strategically planned and executed. And, there are hard costs along with it outside of intellectual property and, da 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 da. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you gotta dig deep when you
Oh,
want to build your company.
holy crap!
I know.
That would be
I
90,
know.
90 grand for me.
Right. Right. Oh, I'm working with a client right now they're at the 5 million. They want to get up to 10, 11 million. So that's a big hefty budget we're looking at. But we're struggling to do what we want to do on that budget.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're
I'm looking at $1 million. I can do a lot with.
right. Well, we're not at $1 million. Our budget's not 5 million. They're at 5 million.
No, I understand.
So,
I'm saying with $1 million to spend,
yeah.
I mean, that's not chump change.
No, I know. We're doing, yeah, we're our budget there is, we've used it up and it's February. We've planned for the whole year, don't get me wrong, but we don't have a lot of wiggle room.
You spend $1 million in the first 3 months, something's wrong.
And it's not $1 million. It's because once you're more established companies, you're looking at, between 6 and 12%.
Okay.
The smaller companies is 12 to 20. The more established is 6 to 12. Our budget is right around 300,000. Which is a huge budget. It's a lot.
Okay.
But when you start in advertising and certain things, this is 30,000. This is what I mean. Then you're spending a lot. But that's traditional or statistically 6 to 12% for an established company, and 12 to 20% for a new or startup or lower end. Not lower end. That sounds terrible. You know what I mean? Someone at the that hasn't quite broached the $1 million mark.
All right. Now, how do you measure return against something like that?
So every aspect. So like we broke down traditional and modern. We broke down branding versus marketing. Each piece there's a statistical return, an anticipated return for them. Or with certain things like branding, we don't even put any return on. We don't anticipate any return. There is return.
You're just killing me here.
I'm sorry. It's just not measurable. So I can't measure to tell my client how much they're going to get. I always teach them the value of it. There's great value. And some of your largest returns will come from branding, which, because that's someone who sees it and knows what they want, and they're a larger client. And anyways, so that can happen. But each piece has its own return, and there are certain pieces that have a higher return, but okay, so you would, if that's true, if what I'm telling you is true, then you think, why don't everybody just do the one thing that does the most return? Because there is consistency involved, and the reason those things have a higher return is because the things in the background that are consistent. And
well, it's a matter of diversity. I mean, that's
right,
my first thought, and support. I mean,
right,
not just, the one thing isn't always the one thing. There's got to be some background noise that is a reminder,
right.
at least the marketing research that I've done.
Which is extensive. But yeah, and I would say the biggest thing out of all of them for return is consistency. Being consistent. So people, one of the most common questions I'm ever asked is, what's the best campaign to do? What's the, where should I start? What's the best one? And my answer across the board is the same to every human that asks me that question. And it's whichever flippin' one you will actually do. Not talk about, not strategize on, but actually do. There is typically a return for most things that are out there.
Okay.
So, gauging that. Another thing that is very common and very hot right now is this huge overpromise, underdeliver theory out there. Like, come with me, I'm gonna up your sales by 258,000 a month. My clients aren't even making 258,000, and you're gonna up them 258,000 a month.
Right.
It's bogus. It's not real. 99.999% of the time, if it sounds too good to be true, it's not. So it's not true.
It's probably gonna be a sensitive subject, and somebody will say something, but is that why ClickFunnels gets the negative connotations that it gets? Because everything 5 times or 10 times, and I don't even know what that means, so forgive people for saying that, but I mean, it's got to work to some degree, but at the same time, it's like,
it works. The biggest thing I have found with the ClickFunnels, and yeah, I'm probably going to be stabbed for this one, I don't know, but most of the things that sell really, really, really well in ClickFunnels are fluff in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, it's not there. You're not selling services through there. You're giving something away. So, I mean, I say this to all of my clients all the time: add value. You add value to sweeten the deal. Don't always give discounts, add value. And so the premise of ClickFunnels is added value. You're going to get this for free. Here's my free book. Here's my free 10 steps to the perfect waistline, or whatever ClickFunnel you're clicking on. And then it's not until you're in that rabbit hole of all these clicks before you get to really what they're trying to get you to buy, which is $9,992,000 for it. But I don't know. I've never used ClickFunnels personally. I don't. I think specifically managed services. There are some that have been successful with it. I know a few right off the top of my head that did it, were successful. None of them are currently doing them anymore. So I don't know.
Is IT one of those areas that doesn't quite translate well? I mean, part of me thinks of, we are selling service, and now some of us do sell hardware,
right?
But for the most part, we're selling, preventive maintenance, remote support, or whatever package we do. And so, in a sense, it's almost like the auto mechanic, or some sort of service where it's not always translatable in marketing as much, or at least that's my feeling.
I agree. It's definitely difficult to translate into ClickFunnels or to certain ads of that nature, um, for a couple reasons. One, it's your prospects are all CEO and above level positions,
Right.
um, and so there is an not an elitist, but there's a certain standard that you want your IT people to be at. Not one of the biggest things you guys do is cybersecurity. Don't click here, don't click there. If you don't know it, don't click it.
Right.
That type of thing. So you don't want to be putting stuff out there for your prospects to be clicking.
Right.
You know what I mean? So translating into marketing, I disagree. I have access to hundreds of campaigns that are killer and pertinent and to the point, and they add value. They deliver value upon receipt. Just by reading them, your prospects learn something. And so it translates well that way. It's just not it's not the same marketing as Coca-Cola or a restaurant or anything like that. It's just different, geared specifically to owners of companies.
All right. So something that has been promoted highly in our industry, and I've gotten a few of these offers. I shouldn't say I've gotten them as offers. There's always a level that you can get to where you can get MDF money
Oh yeah.
or marketing development funds or whatever, where they will help
Yep.
you get noticed or however they term it. So do you ever assist companies with that?
I do. I do. And in fact, that's one of it's a tough go. It's not easy. So just to be clear, for people who don't know, vendors offer MDF funds. Most vendors offer MDF. Um, uh, so marketing development funds. It's free money they give you to do marketing. Some of them require you to market specifically their piece, and some do not. There are some vendors who are severely not jealous, severely generous with their money, with their MDF. And it's basically partner with them, and they help you, and they want you to succeed. The more you succeed, the more their product you're going to buy. Knowing who's one of the highest, I can tell you, Microsoft they're very generous, but their hoops are great and many and sometimes difficult, and you have to be a certain level with them.
Right.
Datto, Datto is one of the most generous vendors who are out there to help you. They won't only give you money, they send their people to, say you want to do a lunch and learn, they'll send somebody there to do the speaking for you. They're one of the best ones to work with MDF. Most all the vendors have it, and some require levels. You have to be a certain level before they even consider you for it.
Mm.
But a lot don't. A lot of them are, okay, run a campaign that specifically highlights one of our products, and we'll pay 50% or we'll pay $3,000 towards it. So jumping the hoops for those, or whatever the saying is typically worth it. A lot of the phone vendors and the those types of things, they're there, they'll give them to you. We work with them all the time, and we know the ones that are the easiest to get and the ones that are tough but maybe the most valuable. So
All right. Now, do you sometimes try to incorporate that into the strategy, or because I have to imagine that a lot of time that either just falls into people's laps, they hit a certain level, and then the vendor's like, hey, there's money for you to do this. So do you stop doing other stuff when that comes along, or is that just added to the stack?
Added to the stack. And what that does is, a lot of times I've had clients who they want to meet that 6 to 12% of their they want to spend that much money, but they're spread thin and blah blah blah. And this is one of the ways they are able to still stay on track with their marketing, is spending that time, jumping through those hoops to get those MDF funds. So, I mean, it's worth it, especially if you have an admin in the office that will take the time to fill out the paperwork and to send in all the requirements and those types of things. We have specific campaigns for specific vendors that you automatically get the MDF from. So we do work that into the strategy from the start.
All right. I want to get one last question in here before we start to end the show. We're getting close to the hour here. The idea of having somebody in-house versus an outside contractor. Now, obviously, you guys partner with companies, so you're not in-house.
Right.
Do you work with people that have an in-house marketing department, and what types of things do you do with them?
Okay, so primarily with us, and right off the top, the difference cost. You can pay me and my team a certain price to get something done that having one person in house, they might not even be able to do it, just because it takes more, different skill sets, different, a lot more time, and the consistency, between sick days and all this. And then of course the 20% additional on average that it costs you to have an actual employee, with benefits and holidays and the whole nine. But do we work with them? Absolutely. We work with them regularly. Again, like I said, with a good marketing strategy, it requires so many different skill sets, everything from having people to implement lick stamps and stuff envelopes to calling CEOs and setting up appointments. Oftentimes it's not the same person that does both, you know what I mean? So we come in and supplement with them on that. We work directly with sales teams, and in filling their pipelines. I don't know if I answered that fully to what you were expecting, but
no, it was good enough. We can talk about it more in the post show, but okay. I wanted to get that question answered on the full podcast. And folks, if you are watching, we will be ending the show here for the podcast, but we will stay after in the post show so we can have more conversation and answer any questions. I see we've got several people hanging out and watching. Folks, you can always add to the chat if you are either in YouTube or on the Facebook. So, all right, Jennifer. So I'm going to have links to your website, your Facebook page, and I probably should have done this at the beginning, but Astek is not spelled the way most people think Astek is spelled.
Right.
It's actually spelled ASTEK, Astek Marketing Group.
Do you know why?
I know why.
Oh, okay.
I just don't remember all their names.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Right.
There's like, let's see, I forget who the A is. Shannon.
Anthony. Kevin. Yep. Kevin's the last one. Anthony, Sarah, Thomas, Ellie, Kevin.
Sarah. That's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Close enough. Sorry. Yes, you're right. Astek is with an S.
All right. Named for your 5 children.
That's it.
So do they try to, play on the name? And Mom, you named the company after us. We should be able to blah, blah, blah.
Well, I'll tell you, the A is Anthony, and this is actually Anthony here.
Oh, is it?
It is. It is. He is a full partner. He runs the operations and staff management. And he's typically out on the road with me as well.
All right. Now it's a little tricky there. Different last name.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And so should I even ask about Angela?
Angela?
Yeah, the Angela on your website.
Oh, Angela Laura? No,
yeah.
She's not related. She's not related, but she is amazing.
Okay. All right. There we go. Astek Marketing Group. And looks like it will be a family business.
It will. Yeah.
All right. Is. So, Jennifer, we've come to the show part that people love, where I So I used to do just Florida man stories, but I've now expanded it to where last year I did Florida man versus the world, and I
Right.
would ask people to give me a story that will compete with Florida man, but I've decided to give people the option. And I kind of explained a little bit to you before the show. You can choose whether you want to play Florida man versus the world, or if you would like to get a random question. Go to the internet, I pick one of the random question generators, and I ask you whatever question pops up, and I don't know what it is.
Well, because I did not prepare in advance for Florida Man versus the World, which I wish I had, I will go with the random question generator.
Okay. So I don't have music, but I'm working on that. We'll have music for it. So let me go to my random generator website and let's generate the random question. And it is, oh, this is not a good one.
Oh, no.
So the question is, just to prove to everybody, have you ever spoken in front of a large group of people, and how did it go?
Yes, and it went fine.
Ah.
That was painless. You can do another if you like. I'm not scared.
Okay, let's do another. Here we
All
go.
right.
Second random question. Oh, now this one should be interesting.
Great.
What's the most immature thing that you do?
Oh, geez. That I still do. Oh God. I can't tell on myself for that. What's the most immature thing I still do? Um, um, I still call my dad when I still call my dad constantly when I need something. Is that necessarily immature, or I don't know.
I don't know. So you play the daddy's girl
I
card
do.
a lot.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. God, that was tougher than I thought.
See?
Random questions.
Yeah, random question.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So, Jennifer, thank you very much for
Thank you.
being the first in the No Marketing Marv Presents
We will
series.
convert you.
And I will be announcing who the next person is shortly, folks. I don't want to get too far ahead here. I want to have a little bit of anticipation as we go forward. But yes, 4 months in this month of March, I will have marketing people on to help explain to me how to do marketing in the MSP world. All right.
Nice.
So that is going to do it for our show tonight. If you are watching, like I said, stay with us through the break and come back, and Jennifer and I will continue talking. And if you're still in the chat, you can send us a question. Those of you that are listening by audio, I want to thank you for staying this long, downloading and subscribing to the show. Please be sure to talk about this to all your friends and all your IT buddies and gals to come and get tips and strategies to help you grow your business. That's what we do. Help make it better, stronger, and faster. That is going to do it for this episode of Podnuts Pro. On behalf of Jennifer Fields, I want to say thank you and good night. And until next time, holla. And we're done.
Nice. Very good.
See, wasn't so bad.
Nope. Are we on the after show yet?
Yes, we are still on the post show. We're still live on both YouTube and the Facebook. And
Oh,
we have 5 people with us. So
oh, nice.
let's see if they will throw any questions in the chat there for us. And let's see. I can't tell who's in the chat, so might just be a stalker watching. And we lost one because I probably called them out. So
Right.
all right. So yeah, I meant to ask you about the name because I had heard long ago that it was named after your children, but
Yes, it is. We started, I had created, when I was working with that local MSP, I had created handbooks and strategies and formulas, and I was in a group, a peer group, an accountability group, and when I said I'm leaving this company, I'm no longer going to be in this group, because I was in that group as a representative of that company. And they're like, you're leaving? You're leaving? And so the leader of that group is like, will you take me on? Can I, will you work with me? And I'm like, oh, sure. And that was at 9 o'clock in the morning. Our meeting was, our accountability group meeting was like from 9 to 9:30. And by 10 o'clock that morning, I had 7 clients, all from the group that had been in this group for a year. And they had seen the process of me building all of these things and had wanted access to it. And so immediately I had a full house of clients at that point.
nice.
So I had to, okay, what's my company name?
Had to have a name.
Yeah. And in fact, Kevin, the K in Astek, he's like, how about Astek? And I'm like, why? And he's like, Anthony, Sarah, Thomas, Ellie, Kevin. And I was like, oh, all right, done. And that's how it came, and we've never changed it.
So he had to have that locked and loaded for some reason.
Well, we were really fielding it for probably, probably I was fielding it for a few days and had asked the kids, but we had in a group and talking about it probably 2 or 3 hours and had thrown out probably 30 or 40 other names. So I don't know that he had that in his mind, or if he just really sat there and brainstormed until he came up with it.
All right. So here is a question in the chat that I want to pull up and ask. So it is, any person that you read or followed or personally known that impacted your marketing skills, career, company? I'm not quite sure if that's to you or to me.
Well, go ahead. You answer it, then I'll answer.
I guess that means had that positively impacted your marketing skills, career, or company.
Okay.
So
I know my answer. You want to go first, or you want me to?
You go first, because I don't know what my answer is.
There is several people that I've worked with directly. I've already mentioned Robin Robbins, the absolute foundation of my marketing was her. I mean, being self-employed and having my own companies, I had always done marketing, but I think the big structure and education came from there. Otherwise, I've been exposed to some of the greats in marketing, and I respect. Have they all impacted? I would say absolutely. You can glean the good out of all kinds of different gurus out there. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's probably been a lot who have impacted in one way or another. I would say the bulk came out of the Robin Robbins community.
All right. Now, I didn't want to ask you too much on the live podcast about Robin Robbins, because Robin, she's got a ton of supporters out there, and then she's got the people who don't support her because of whatever reason. And I know that a lot of it has to do with the same reason that a lot of marketing people get bad mouth, is because people don't put in the work or something like that. I mean, and regardless of anything else, that's my opinion, is that if you're not going to do it, which is one reason why when people call me and I'm like, look, I'm not going to do it. I mean, no disrespect. I don't want, but that's just the way it is. I know what my niche is.
Right.
And I like to stay in my lane.
Right.
But I read somewhere that you were doing exclusively Robin Robbins people? Now, is that,
Man,
are you still doing it, or was that a certain point in time?
no, I still I removed the word exclusively, and I don't even know if I have removed it everywhere. She okay, just to go address, I think you did it beautifully with what you said in the fact that a lot of the naysayers are primarily because it is she doesn't go and do the work for you. She does all the back end, she creates everything for you. But in order for it to work, you have to do it. And so it really separates the boys from the men. Is that antiquated? I'm not allowed to say that anymore, but
I don't care. Say it.
it really separates the people who are trying to kill it and who just want it to happen. People
Right.
who make it happen and people who want it to happen. Um, I work with that material every single day of my life. I wish I had days off, but even on my day off, I'm thinking about it. So I'm in that material all the time. There's no denying the naysayers can say what they want. We all have naysayers out there. Um, it it works. I mean, I close new clients for my clients daily using that material. So,
I mean, like I said, I don't know her, and
yeah.
I don't go looking for her, and she wasn't somebody that I thought, well, maybe I'll have her on the podcast, because
Oh, right.
I get the feeling that my average listener isn't going to be what is her target market, because I have
Okay.
a feeling that her target market is for the big boys, but I may be wrong, but it's like,
I think you are, because my number one client, I have clients that range from, literally out of the gate. My mid-range clients are between 2 and 800,000. And
okay,
then I have my higher end client, and I hate saying that. I don't mean that as their higher end, but they're a higher bracket in the financial end of it. And I think really her niche might even be the financial lower bracket, in that she's helping them cross that barrier. A lot of them have built it as far as they can on their own through their word of mouth, through all their brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, everybody telling every company they've ever worked for to bring, you know what I mean?
right.
And then she brings them to that next level. So I would definitely say she's in that. I know a lot of her superstars from when that does the marketing for her are now at this level, but I would say, and this is a totally made up statistic out of my mind just from who I know that has gone through it. I don't know if it's fact or not, but from what I've seen, I would say at least half of those superstars who are now killing it at one point, when they came, not at one point, but when they came into Robbins, were at either at a break even. I mean, like they were dying almost on the vine, and to that point. But they were real go-getters who took every piece and implemented and followed the instructions and followed up with calls, and what I mean, had many different funnels going at the same time. But they were down in the 200,000 to 500,000 range.
All right.
I was when I started in there with her.
All right. I'm trying
Sorry.
to be politically correct in what I say.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad. So
No,
if
you're
I'm
fine.
making
You're
that
fine.
difficult.
I'm trying to not bring up some bad apples.
Yep.
Um, because there are some yahoos that we have dealt with in this industry that are
Yeah.
just, basically jerks and frauds and whatever you have it. But
Yeah.
I think the bulk of this whole marketing thing is, a lot of times it comes across as fluff.
Right.
And it turns out that, if I were to go to somebody, not you, but if I were to go to somebody and say, hey, I need some marketing done, I think the expectation is that I would have a lot of that done for me.
Yep.
Now, am I willing to do some work? Yes. Am I willing to do all of the work? Probably not. And I think
Right.
that's where the miscommunication happens a lot, is that sometimes the marketing guru or the person we're getting information from. It's just like a peer group where they're they're telling me what to do, but that's about it.
Right.
That's what I don't want.
Right. Well, I think the biggest difference is she gives you the tools. That community, she gives all of her people the tools. Yes, they have to do it or pay someone like me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But creating those tools, just the value in just the tools itself is worth, that's what it's about, is the tool. She's giving them the tools and the strategy and the instructions step by step by step by step. Yep, somebody else has to do it. She's not getting in there or providing a team. In fact, I think now she does actually have done for you segments for a lot of what she does.
Really? Okay.
I think almost everything. I'm not positive of that. I'm sure there's still certain things that you have to do, maybe still the envelopes or something. I can't remember. But I know most of what she does, she has done for you in there because they have a whole done for you department. So I think now even that has changed where she is offering, some of it done for you.
All right.
I have an infinity there. I know her. I wouldn't say we were friends. Clearly, she's very busy and that type of thing, but I've watched her for so long and she's given me the opportunities in there that I never otherwise would have had. So, I mean, anyone that would judge her on a personal level, how would they even know? You know what I mean? That's a silly judgment to make. And professionally, I've worked with her stuff and it works. So that's where I would land.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to ask you about a particular person, and because like I said, I'm going to be able, hopefully, to have people on the show, and I'm going to have people that love them and people that hate them, and to be honest, it's not that I don't care, but I want to be able to present to the watchers and listeners all the options out there, and you find the one that works for you.
Right.
And unless somebody is an out and out fraud, I'm not going to worry about it.
Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, agreed. I mean, and unfortunately, in this industry, we've all had dealings with out and out frauds. I mean, that's not in this industry. I think it's in every industry. And someone told me, I don't know. You just got to stay away from it. There are indicators. One of the things we didn't go into too much is one of the other things that I do with my clients to ensure that they're not dealing with that with me is, we put KPIs on everything. There are certain key performance indicators. If this is happening, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen by this time. And you know what I mean? So there are sticking points that we check in on and make sure those certain things are happening. And, just different things to protect yourself, because with any outside vendor that you don't know, you're opening the door for that type of thing. And I don't know how to avoid one other than specifics like KPIs, pictures, things of that nature. Testimonials. I mean, those can be faked. I don't know what else to say.
No, you just said it.
So I guess protect yourself. Know that it's possible, even in a community where people.
Right. So Tony asked a question here that I know this is one of those touchy questions because, I mean, not that it's touchy, but I know that a lot of times when I have seen other marketing people get asked this particular question, they don't want to give the answer.
Okay.
But Tony asked, what are some low-hanging fruits that most MSPs ain't doing and should, that can make the most impact on lead gen for smaller MSPs who has less than $1,000 to spend on marketing? And you talked about consistency, where whatever you do, you have to be consistent with it. But in terms of companies that maybe aren't ready to hire somebody or do a Robin Robbins type thing, but they know they need to start somewhere. What are some of the things, would you be willing to share what they can do on their own to get started?
Oh, sure. You can honestly do everything on your own. One of the primary things with lead gen and with companies that are that come to me in that position it's always sharing the responsibility. The consistency is key. And I believe Tony was an owner and he wants to know what he can do. And as an owner, you can do every single thing that we do, but let's get real. You have to run your company. So a specific task off the top of your head. One of the things that I used to do, I have perfected it, or not perfected it, I've made it way better. And so what I offer is a lot more expensive, but you can do. We started, and the idea came, grew from canvassing. I don't know if you have family, if you have anybody who can canvas different areas with your business card, maybe a little, I don't know, we call them tchotchkes, or something with your name on it, something with your unique selling proposition. Well, if you're the owner of an MSP, you very likely are technical and can work on your own SEO on your website. Every time you go on a call, every time you're at someone's office, sharing information, and make it imperative that within that office complex or industrial park, you stop at another business right next door. It'll take 10 minutes more than your initial appointment, but you stop and you say, hey, I was just helping your neighbor and I wanted to give you some information in case you ever run into these problems. Give your information, get it out there, let them see you. If you can't get through the gatekeeper, and just ask the gatekeeper to give it to the owner. If you really want to do really good, keep donuts in your car. Gatekeeper, I've worked in offices forever, and food and donuts are always welcome. So, attach it with something like that. There are tons of things you can do like that. Calling, any kind of, ask any client you have for references, or referrals. You can get out there and you can get the ball rolling. Getting in front of owners is the key.
So when I started out many moons ago, I did a lot of the guerrilla marketing things.
Yeah.
Where I wouldn't be as serious as, real canvassing. I would not approach a gatekeeper.
Oh, no.
No, but what I would do is find office buildings where they had public postings.
Yeah.
And I did specifically office buildings because that's the type of client I wanted. So where there were law firms and stuff, and sometimes they would have out in the lobby a place where they would have the business cards, of all the attorneys in the building and stuff. And then they'd have a bulletin board. Well, I would post up flyers.
Yep.
And now back then I was doing everything. So I was still building computers at that time. So I would put, especially around Christmas time, hey, need a gift for Christmas? I can build you a computer for, back then, and $4.95 was, cheap as could be. And those types of things to just be out there. So
yep.
If I do that today, though.
No.
I don't know. Because I don't know. Canvassing, for some reason, still, it seems harder than it was because of the whole solicitation thing, and nobody wants people coming in, but you've got to find your way in.
Right. And we offer canvassing. It's actually huge. We brought one company 3 new clients through, we do 3 days of canvassing, but of course we do back end work. We don't just go out randomly. We go, we build a list, we send them a campaign, we call them several times before we end up just going out. We don't necessarily have an appointment. We definitely don't have an appointment, but we've touched them and nurtured them enough to where when we get there, they're like, oh, it's you. Okay. And, really as a boost, I've had clients who have lost big contracts. They were very heavy. Their business was very heavy into one client, and that client left or ended. And now they're in, an otherwise thriving company for years is now in very big jeopardy. And we had to do what we had to do to get them some new clients right away. And that's the biggest return that we had. It cost a fortune, and It's intense and a lot of work, but it worked. We got them 3 clients in 30 days, 3 viable clients in 30 days.
All right. So I know we didn't talk a lot on the true digital marketing and stuff, but you brought up SEO a couple of times. We talked about the content marketing, social media marketing, but what should be the actual goal for those? Because when I've listened to this is now I'm going to say this from a podcasting standpoint.
Okay.
Because I don't do enough marketing for the podcast either. But when I've talked to other podcasters and they all, everybody's like, how do we get more listeners? And how do you do this? And they're always talking about the fact that you need to be driving people somewhere.
Yeah.
So just by throwing up a Facebook ad saying, hey, happy Monday, enjoy your coffee. Obviously, that's not what you want to do, but you want to be driving them somewhere. And they always talk about driving to the website.
Yep.
So, I mean, should that be your main goal with all content marketing, is driving them to the website, and then your website is where you develop that SEO and all of that stuff?
Mm-hmm. And not only do you develop the SEO there, you're driving them to the website with SEO and all of that. The SEO in the website drives them there. The outside, through social media, Google ads, and any kind of ads like that drives them there. Even direct mail, we put the URLs on there to get them there. And then on the website, you have form fills. Every single page you have on your website, I don't care what the content is on that page, should have a form fill. Everyone. And another thing that I believe, and this is, I believe you should also have your picture on every page.
No.
Yep.
Really?
Yes. People statistically do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the more they see your picture, the more they feel like they know you. I can't tell you how many times the marketing I do is 99.9% for my clients and not myself. And then when I showed up, I very rarely do I do it now, but for a very long time I did it myself, all of it. And I would go somewhere and I'd say, well, John Smith, the owner of blah, blah, oh, John Smith. Oh, yeah, I know him. He's the one with the, and they'll describe the website and his picture or whatever other piece of marketing that they've seen with his picture on it. And they feel like they know him from seeing his picture all the time. So it's one thing I tell my clients is your picture everywhere. Every email should have your picture in the signature. It just makes them feel like it, and genuinely lends to them feeling like they know you.
Okay. Picture everywhere. And then you said a form fill on every page.
A what?
On every page, you said?
I would, on every page. A form fill, a click. No matter who's hosting your website, you can do a click to dial now. I don't want to say the wrong number. Huge percentage is on the phones. So if you have that click to dial where they can just click it and call you immediately, it goes right to your office. Have that click to dial on your sites. It translates beautifully into the mobile sites. Online, when you click it, it'll pop up your phone number if they want to dial it in their phone. Definitely have that on your website. That's the hook. The hook is all your SEO out there, all your ads. That's your headlines and your titles out there are bringing them in. And the way to capture them is with the form fill. That's how you get their information. That's how they get direct dial to you. And if they don't call you right then, you call them. And the form fill has both phone number and email address. So you call them and you email them. And then you add them to what we call drip marketing, to where after that, I don't like exhausting a lead. So I don't, do a daily thing, but I do put them in where once a month they get a letter from me or something. So, that's key. Those are the ways you catch people. That's why you direct them to your site so that you can capture them.
Okay. I need to ask somebody who just posted, Alex, asked a question, how does that apply if you have a team? Alex, can you add what we were talking about when you asked that question? Because we went through a few
I think
things.
it's the pictures. I think it's the pictures.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of companies will put a picture of their entire team on their front page.
Yep. And that's good too. I will say when you go to, it's terrible, but this is what I think of when he said that. When you go to a restaurant to eat dinner and you know the chef, and the chef comes out and sees you. So it's a lot different when the chef shows up at your table than when the waitress shows up at your table or waiter. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So definitely above the fold, which is, I don't know if everybody knows what above the fold is.
I know what that is. That's on a newspaper. When you open up you usually see the top of the page. So above the fold.
Above the fold. So on your website, it's the part of the website that's there when you open that site. So you want the owner's picture right there, the face of the company right there. The team can be there too, but the owner should stand out. It should be definitely, that's the owner.
Okay.
Definitely put your team out there, especially people who are going into the other businesses. They represent you. You've chosen them. You've hired them. They are a representation of your company. So definitely put them on there because they like to know them too.
And that is exactly what Alex was saying. He's actually driving and dictating. He was referring to the photo on every page. So.
Yep. And what I like to do, especially depending on who hosts your website and what they charge for landing pages, we use Vertical Action, and they don't charge us at all for landing pages. So I do as many landing pages as I can. And you do, do a landing page for everything. Have your employees have their own landing page with something on it about, if one of your guys is really good at something, have it on there. It's all good for SEO. The more landing pages, the more content, follow the rules. You need to have a certain amount of content per picture or graphic or whatever, do it right, but get it.
Whose rules are those?
Well, nobody's rules, but all the, SEO algorithms, when they test, like, how good is your website? That's one of the things they look at.
Okay. I don't do that.
Well, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't help you if you don't meet the criteria or follow the rules. Okay. So because in the end, it's the Google algorithm that matters, and that it helps with your placement in the Google. When somebody Googles you or Googles MSPs near me, all those little pieces are part of that algorithm and where you land.
All right. When I start optimizing my website, I'll have to know that.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, we've coming up to a half an hour past the show. So I want to go ahead and get us off the air here soon because I got to get home.
Oh, you got to do it.
Any last thoughts? I know we've run, and I want to thank you all for staying in the post show and asking questions. I hope that we answered all of them appropriately. And let's see, I think we got them all. Yep. And Tony says, he says, hi, I remember you from the ASCII Zoom call. All right.
Me or you?
Me.
Oh,
he was saying hi to me. So, all right. I know that we didn't have a full follow-up on everything, but was there one thing that you wanted to mention that we did not say?
Tracking your marketing is very important. Track every aspect of what you do. Okay. Know where it came from, know what's working and what's not, know what to stop and what to add. If you're doing 5 different funnels and this one is producing the most, find the one that's producing the least and take the cost and put that cost into this funnel that you're having a better return on. Track everything. Tracking is key. You can make better decisions. You can measure and predict. It just is, tracking is key.
Okay. that could be a whole nother show, because the question is how do you track everything? I mean, outside of tracking calls, you can know if you got an answer and if you got a yes or a no, or had to leave a voicemail. But are you talking in terms of tracking conversions?
Nope, I'm talking, yeah, ultimately conversions. Yes, I'm the tracking queen. I believe in all of that. I color code everything. I know exactly where I landed a client and how much it cost me. Every client I convert, I know how much it cost me for my clients. So telephone numbers. Now with VoIP phone systems, you can every phone line, you can have like 15 different numbers, doesn't matter. So different pieces of marketing material use different numbers. Different you can track through clicks. Obviously, if they come through a click, you have analytics on everything digital. You have they give you your tracking there.
Okay.
Everything that's traditional, it's typically through phone numbers, through questions, and asking them. Some things come in that you can't track, but everything you can track, you should track.
All right. And I assume that all of that is part of the process, and that you set up with people and help them with. And now, here's the question I probably should have asked during the show. When you are helping them with their campaign, or you're sending out stuff on their behalf,
yes,
who are they calling? Are they calling you, or are they calling the MSP?
So they call the MSP. We do not have a return call. So when we leave a voicemail, voicemail is huge. Reaching an MSP unannounced, you have an 80% voicemail rate. So that's why we do 3 rounds of calls, so that we can get into the decision maker. Anyways, when we leave a voicemail, we say, hi, this is Jennifer from Podnuts Pro. This is my phone number, blah, 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 and it's your phone number. And then we instruct our clients. All of my agents go by the name Jennifer or Anthony. And that way that my clients don't have to learn all of my agents' names. They just, know if they ask for Jennifer or Anthony, that's a sales call, put it through to me. You know what I mean? And so whoever's answering the phone knows that. And it's always, oh, yes, sorry, Jennifer's not available, but she was trying to reach you for me anyways, and then blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
All right. Very, very nice. Well, Jen, thank you very much for staying with us. I'm going to go ahead and start ending out this portion of the show. Again, for those of you that stayed with us, thank you very much. And we will see you again next week. Again, we are here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And we will have very engaging content like we had tonight. So that's going to do it, folks. We're going to end off the broadcast here. Thank you and good night, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.